So the 911 calls from the Ohio State attack have been released, and this comes as the FBI now says that indicators point to Islamic terror as a likely motive. But that's not stopping a prominent Black Lives Matter advocate from accusing the police officer who stopped the brutal car and slashing attack of being racially motivated. One radio show host, Tariq Nasheed, tweeted, this is the quote he tweeted. So, white officer Alan Hirojiko, who shot and killed the black Somali stabbing suspect in Ohio, is being paraded as a hero. That's interesting. Fox News' Tucker Carlson called Nasheed out on his program last night. Take a listen.
When you tweet out that this is a story of a white man killing a black man, that is misleading. That's not at all what happened. There was no racial motive that we know of here, and you're implying there was.
I didn't say there was a racial motive.
Your financial. Well, of course you did. You said the white officer shot a black Somali suspect.
Tucker, this is Fox News. You guys are the race casino. Forget about the race card. You play the race casino.
I don't know one person on any network who looked at this and said, here you have a white man killing a black man. They said, here you have a police officer, representative of order,
black
stopping a mass murder from continuing.
Joining us now, the author of the book Race Pimping and KJRadio.com host Kevin Jackson. Thank you for joining us. You know, it's hard to believe in the year 2016, almost 2017, we're having discussions like this because it seems to be identity politics and this divisiveness that gets taken out of whack. And I just have to ask you, that tweet that he put up, was there any way he wasn't trying to, I guess, race bait in some way or another, or was it a valid tweet?
Absolutely, Adam. It was exactly the way Tucker described it, and I got to give Tucker props, boy. He really called this guy out. Look, if he had wanted to tweet this out as far as a tragedy of the cop killing a man who had run over students that were on campus, that's the way he would have talked about it. When the guy called 911, he didn't say a black guy ran over a bunch of, you know, these types of students. Right. He said somebody ran into a group of students, because that's the way conservative America and the actual America believe is when a tragedy is a tragedy, we don't colorize it, and we certainly don't racialize it. But you got to understand, Tariq Nasheed is what I call an ethnocentric race pimp. He's the guy that I comically talk about in my book, Race Pimping, because this is a business for him. Ironically, Adam, this is a guy that writes about pimping, and his books are things, he uses a term called a MAC. A MAC is the highest level of pimp in the black community. And he's doing exactly that by stirring up racial instances where there are none. This was not in any way racially motivated.
So let me ask you this, because there clearly are real incidents of racism still in the United States. Why use something like this? I mean, this seems so inappropriate. What gain is there for him to do this?
You know, it's funny that you say that it's so inappropriate and you talk about the racial incidents. The majority of race incidents in America are not done by the so-called people in power, as black liberals would say. They're actually done by blacks. And what's happening is we allow this to occur right in our faces. And I'll give you a good example. Keith Ellison is being proposed as the head of the DNC, and he wants a country separate for black people. Right. Now, I would challenge you to tell me any Republican, conservative, Tea Party member or whatever that could say something like that and be considered for a position of power in this country. We see racism front and center right in our faces being done by guys like Tariq Nasheed, by the Democrat Party, with guys like Keith Ellison who can say whatever they want. They've got corporate America scared to death to talk. They've got good, solid American citizens who are afraid to talk about the basics of this society and how things like this have gone way too far. And you become xenophobic when you talk about relations of illegals. You become Islamophobic if you bring up, you know, situations like this, and Americans are sick of it.
Well, and you bring up Mr. Ellison. I mean, it's almost like there's a double standard. There are people who might distastefully be associated with neo-Nazis right now, close to Mr. Trump. I don't want to bring in the name of that individual. But then you've got Mr. Ellison, who's associated with Louis Farrakhan, and we don't hear people screaming about that. Is this part of what you're talking about when you say the double standard?
Absolutely. There's no question about it. And you don't have to go anecdotally to Keith Ellison's relationship with Louis Farrakhan. Keith Ellison, in his own words, talks about separation for blacks. He talks about the white supremacy that's inherent in America. Look, I would defy Keith Ellison, Tariq Nasheed, or any other black in this country. Tell me where you'd rather live. He talks about a separate country for blacks. I've been to Africa. I've been to a separate continent for blacks that has 52, give or take, countries that are separate for blacks. None of them are doing better than America. So what are you complaining about? You know, look, this country has been great for everybody if you choose to pursue opportunity. And we should be able to talk about these things without talking about race. And the situation with Ohio State's no different.
Kevin Jackson, I appreciate your being here. I was always laughing when the celebrities would talk about moving to Canada because, first, what makes you think Canada is going to let you in? And two, go if you really don't like it. Thank you very much for joining us.